Good evening. I hope whoever's watching this is having a wonderful day. Today we're starting with the fox and the crow. A crow, perched in a tree, with a piece of cheese in his beak, attracted the eye and nose of a fox. "If you can sing as pretty as you sit," said the fox, "then you are the prettiest singer within my scent and sight." The fox had read somewhere, and somewhere else, that praising the voice of a crow with a cheese in its beak would make him drop the cheese and sing. But this is not what happened to this particular crow in this particular case. "They say you are sly, and they say you are crazy," said the crow, having carefully removed the cheese from his beak with the claw with one foot. "But you must be nearsighted as well. Warbles wear gay hats and colored jackets and bright vests, and they are $1 100. I wear black, and I am unique." He began nibbling the cheese, dropping not a single crumb. "I am sure you are," said the fox, who was neither crazy nor nearsighted, but sly. "I recognize you, now that I look more closely, as the most famed and talented of all birds, and I fain would hear you tell about yourself. But I am hungry, and must go." "Tarry a while," said the crow quickly, "and share my lunch with me." Whereupon he tossed the cunning fox the lion's share of the cheese, and began to tell about himself. "A ship that sails without a crow's nest sails to doom," he said. "Bars may come and bars may go, but crow's bars last forever. I am the pioneer of flight. I am the map maker. Last, but never least, my flight is known to scientists and engineers, geometrists and scholars, as the shortest distance between 2 points. Any 2 points," he concluded arrogantly. "Oh, every 2 points, I am sure," said the fox. "And thank you for the lion's share of what I know you could not spare." And with this he trotted away into the woods, his appetite appeased, leaving the hungry crow perched forlornly in the tree. Moral: 'Twas true in Aesop's time, and La Fontaine's, and now no one else can praise thee quite as well as thou. Variations on the theme. This is new. It's like these are different versions of the same story. A fox, attracted by the scent of something, following his nose to a tree in which sat a crow, a piece of cheese in his beak. "Oh, cheese," said the fox scornfully. "That's nice. That's for mice." The crow removed the cheese with his talons and said, "You always hate the thing you cannot have, as, for instance, grapes." "Grapes are for the birds," said the fox haughtily. "I am an epicure, a gourmet, and a gastronome." The embarrassed crow, ashamed to be seen eating mouse food by a great specialist in the art of dining, hastily dropped the cheese. The fox caught it deftly, swallowing it with a relish, said, "Merci," politely, and trotted away. Number 2. Fox had used all his blandness in vain. He could not flatter the crow in the tree and make him drop the cheese he held in his beak. Suddenly the crow tossed the cheese to the astonished fox. Just then the farmer, from whose kitchen the loot had been stolen, appeared carrying a rifle, looking for the robber. The fox turned and ran for the woods. "There goes the guilty son of a vixen now," said the crow, who, in case you do not happen to know it, can see the glint of sunlight on the gun barrel at a greater distance than anybody. Number 3. This time the fox, who was determined not to go out forced by the crow, stood his ground and did not run from the farmer when the farmer appeared, carrying a rifle and looking for a robber. "The teeth marks in his cheese are mine," said the fox, but the beak marks were made by the true culprit up there in the tree. I submit this cheese in evidence as Exhibit A, and bid you and the criminal a very good day." Whereupon he lit a cigarette and strolled away. Number 4. In the great and ancient tradition, the crow in the tree with the cheese on his beak began singing, and the cheese fell into the fox's lap. "You sing like a shovel," said the fox with a grin, but the crow pretended not to hear and cried out, "Quick, give me back the cheese. Here comes the farmer with his rifle." "Why should I give you back the cheese?" the wily fox demanded. "Because the farmer has a gun, and I can fly faster than you can run." So the frightened fox tossed the cheese back to the crow, who ate it and said, "Dearie me, my eyes are playing tricks on me. Or am I playing tricks on you? Which do you think?" But there was no reply, for the fox had slunk away into the woods. Interesting. The bears and the monkeys. In a deep forest there lived many bears. They spent the winter sleeping and the summer playing leap bear and stealing honey and buns from nearby cottages. One day, a fast-talking monkey named Glib showed up and told them that their way of life was bad for bears. "You are prisoners of pastime," he said, "addicted to leap bear and slaves of honey and buns." The bears were impressed and frightened as Glib went on talking. "Your forebears have done this to you," he said. Glib was so glib, glibber than the glibbiest monkeys they had ever seen before, that the bears believed he must know more than they knew, or anybody else. But then he left to tell other species what was the matter with them. The bears reverted to their fun and games, and their theft of buns and honey. Their decadence made them bright of eye, light of heart, and quick of paw. They had a wonderful time, living as bears had always lived, until one day 2 of Glib's successors appeared, named Monkey Say and Monkey Do. They were even glibber than Glib, and they brought many presents, and smiled all the time. "We have come to liberate you from freedom," they said. "This is the new liberation, twice as good as the old, since there are 2 of us." So each bear was made to wear a collar, and the collars were linked together with chains, and Monkey Do put a ring in the lead bear's nose and a chain on the lead bear's ring. "Now you are free to do what I tell you to do," said Monkey Do. "Now you are free to say what I want you to say," said Monkey Say. "By sparing you the burden of electing your leaders, we save you from the dangers of choice. No more secret ballots. Everything's open and above board." For a long time, the bears submitted to the new liberations and chanted the slogan the monkeys had taught them. Quote, "Why stand on your own 2 feet when you can stand on ours?" Then one day, they broke the chains of their new freedom and found their way back to the deep forest, began playing leap bear again and stealing honey and buns from the nearby cottages. Their laughter and gaiety rang through the forest, and birds that had ceased singing began singing again, and all the sounds of the earth were like music. Moral: it is better to have the ring of freedom in your ears than in your nose. This will be the final story of tonight. Sleep well. A little girl was given so many picture books on her 17th birthday that her father would have run his office and let her mother run the home, thought his daughter should give 1 or 2 of her new books to a little neighbor boy named Robert, who had dropped in, more by design than by chance. Now, taking books or anything else from a little girl is like taking arms from an Arab or candy from a baby. But the father of the little girl had his way, and Robert got 2 of her books. After all, that leaves you with 9, said the father, who thought he was a philosopher and a child psychologist, and couldn't shut his big fatuous mouth on the subject. A few weeks later, the father went to his library to look up father in the Oxford English Dictionary, to feast his eyes on the praise of fatherhood through the centuries, but he couldn't find volume F through G. Then he discovered that 3 others were missing too: A through B, L through M, and V through Z. He began a probe of his household, and soon learned what had become of the 4 missing volumes. "A man came to the door this morning," said his little daughter, "and he didn't know how to get from here to Torrington, or from Torrington to Winstead. And he was a nice man, much nicer than Robert, and so I gave him 4 of your books. After all, there are 13 volumes in the Oxford English Dictionary, and that leaves you 9. Moral: this truth has been known from here to Menander. What's sauce for the gasling's not sauce for the gander." That'll do it for tonight. Sleep well. I'll see you tomorrow.